Hey guys, this is Russ with Razor's Edge Combat Elite, and today I want to talk to you about an athlete who anyone that is a fan of wrestling knows and is one of the most decorated wrestlers of all time, and that athlete's name is John Smith. Now, many of our younger athletes will be familiar with John Smith because he's the current coach at Oklahoma State, and he's had a tremendously successful coaching career there, but today I want to focus on what John has accomplished as an athlete. First off, I want to mention that John comes from one of the most prestigious families of wrestling royalty in the history of the sport. 3 of the Smith brothers were NCAA national champions, and a 4th was also an All-American. His brother Pat was a first 4-time NCAA champion, and his nephews Mark and Chris Perry were both also NCAA champions. And his son Joe has had a highly successful career thus far as well. So throughout his career, John would win 2 state titles in the state of Oklahoma, 2 NCAA titles at Oklahoma State, and most impressively, he won 4 World Championship gold medals and 2 Olympic gold medals throughout the years of 1987 to 1992. I mean, I cannot emphasize enough how amazing of a feat it was to literally be on top of the world for 6 straight years. Anyone with any type of wrestling knowledge knows that this is a tremendously difficult feat, and yet John was able to do it year in and year out. And one of the reasons that John was able to be so successful for so long was because he was such an innovator of the sport. Anyone who's familiar with John's career knows that his patented move was the low single. John worked on perfecting this move until he had mastered not only the shot itself, but also how to beat any counter or reaction that his opponents may have had to this move. John spent an enormous amount of time perfecting the low single. He once told Flow Wrestling in an interview that he lost days in the room, meaning that he was so obsessed and engrossed in perfecting the move that he lost track of time and literally spent years of his life in the room in order to master it. Obviously, it got to the point where John knew that his opponents couldn't stop it. John released a series on the move entitled How Low Can You Go, and it definitely would be worth checking out for any aspiring wrestlers. Something else that young wrestlers can take away from John's example is his absolute dedication and commitment to the sport. In an interview with the LA Times prior to the 1992 Olympics, John was quoted as saying, "I make a commitment that no other wrestler does. There are probably a few wrestlers out there who think they make a commitment, but I really make a commitment." In the very same interview, John spoke of his focus and intensity in the wrestling room, and he even went as far as to say that I can remember a particular time in the Oklahoma State workout room where me and this guy spent 15 minutes working out and an hour and a half fighting. I believe that it's no coincidence that John was so successful in the sport that he loved. Some may call it obsessive, others call it dedicated. Regardless of the vernacular that you would choose to use, young wrestlers can learn from John's example that being successful on the mat requires a tremendous amount of commitment, discipline, and sacrifice. Eventually, John would transfer into coaching at his alma mater at Oklahoma State. He's coached for 26 seasons as that Cowboys head coach, and he has set an Oklahoma State wrestling win record with 384 wins. He has led his team to 5 NCAA team titles, and he's coached some of the sport's most exciting wrestlers, including Johnny Hendricks, Steve Mocco, and Jordan Oliver, just to name a few. It's a great thing to see a coach giving back to the sport that he loves. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing, and until next time, this is Russ with Razor's Edge Combat Elite. Thanks for watching.